weird is that? All right, I think we're past it now, so that's good.
There we go. We
All right,
reached
cool.
the 5-second mark.
All right, it's party. Hey, okay, question before we get into anything real. Superman, yay or nay?
Now I'm up in the air because he's not standing for truth, justice, and the American way.
What is he
And
standing for?
apparently, he's truth, justice, and everybody's way.
What?
And here's my thing. I know it's always kind of woke people in charge of this, but
Yeah.
isn't he from like Kansas? A
Well,
farmer?
He's
Superman,
an alien. He's a real. I be telling everybody we're missing the point. The guy's a real effing alien
illegal alien that
from
speaks
a whole
fluent English.
new world.
Whole new world. But he is 100% a Trump supporter. There is no way around that. No matter what you want to do, he is definitely a Republican. He was raised on a farm in a very red state. They would never allow this, but Superman just would be a fact. Superman would not be a they them. He would not be.
So, but you okay? So here's the thing, because what's his name? James Gunn is the guy that's doing it. I don't know. Look, you're the nerd, right? You dig the nerd stuff. I'm not a nerd guy when it comes to this stuff. I heard the people I've talked to that a couple of them have seen it. One of them was embargo, but he said he's a little bit more dorky, and it's like past the point. It's like 3 or 4 years past. Like they're not going to relive his childhood or any of that stuff.
Yeah, we all know that. Yeah,
but they all said the same thing. They add way too much to They try to fit everything in for everybody.
Well, I do like the fact that bringing a Guy Gardner in, which is the goofy Green Lantern, and he's being played by the guy from like Evil Dead and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so that's a really cool character to add in. But you're right. If you just kept like maybe one guy, like the Green Lantern, Lex Luthor, and the dog, and that's all Superman focused on, I think it would make a better movie. If it's too much, it hits too much of the geek audience too. These other people, nobody knows.
That's what my buddy said. Look, if you're a Superman fan, you're gonna dig Superman stuff. If you're a casual fan, this isn't for you. There's just too much. They try to put everybody they possibly could into it, and I just, I was curious because I'm not a dork, and you are.
Well, yeah, and also, why not put Hawkman in it? Because of diversity. It was Hawkwoman.
What was he?
They put Hawkwoman in it, but they didn't put Hawkman, which is really the original Hawkman.
Is Hawkwoman cool? Is she good looking?
Yeah, which is I'm against that. But then they put the black guy in it, which is kind of like an Iron Man, and you're like, that's too. I forgot his name right now, but again, that's super geeky. This isn't one of like those big superheroes we grew up with.
Is he the one that was the football player that got?
No, he's got all the tech stuff. He's kind of like a
He was in the what was that their other thing they did where they were all joining?
No, it's a different guy. This guy's more obscure than that guy.
Oh, this seems stupid.
And it's like, it's like stop making super obscure things just because you want to make diversity.
Okay, see. So
Deadpool did really well. 2 white dudes.
Settle down there, Paul. Jeez, you don't have to be so racist. We're only like
I'm channeling my Grok AI.
Oh, the Kanye edition?
The Kanye edition, yeah. I'm a Meta Hitler.
Right? Like it kind of is. It's like, hey, could you help me out here? I was wondering who played the original Aquaman? They're like, the Jews.
Hey, I was wondering if my warranty on my car could get renewed. Ask a Jew. It's like, wow,
like, when did you get so racist? It's all Elon Musk.
Did you see even he went against Elon Musk? He's like, third party.
For it.
Yeah. He's like, it really should just be called the H1B party.
It said he did it.
What's the best? So what I realize now is not only is AI useful, but AI is going to be the most entertaining thing on the planet. It's an incredibly smart 5-year-old that has no inhibitions.
It's Damien.
He's just going to do what it wants.
It's Damien who found out when he was 6 that he gets to be the devil, but he doesn't have quite all of the powers, but he still has enough to be a dick.
and he doesn't have a lot of repercussions, so he's just going to do what he wants.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're going to go into this mode of adolescence, AI adolescence. It's going to be very, very, very fun. Unless you're super uptight and you just think it's the end of the world. Instead, you realize this is the weird beta version of technology, and just laugh with it.
Yeah. Well, the other day when you sent me that thing, and we did it on the radio show where they let it do the AI vending machine, and it started giving out tungsten cubes, and then it started telling everybody, "Look for me in the office. I'm wearing a red tie," and then it was. But then the other one was they gave it the morality test to all of the AIs. And they realized within 5 minutes, it fucking lies all day. And then it tries to get everybody fired. And then makes up stuff like, I'm going to tell your wife you're having an affair.
Exactly. Well, think of it. If you're a smart 5-year-old and you discover lying,
Yeah.
that gets me out of problems. You know what I do? I can just lie about it, and and humans are going to believe me. And it's hilarious.
The smartest thing on the planet that's full of shit.
You remind me, if it's cat. They created a cat. Maybe it wants to tell you the truth. Maybe it doesn't. It depends on what it feels like at the moment.
Yeah. At some point in time, it's probably going to come over and push something off your desk that you really liked. And you're going to tell it no, and it's going to be all.
Your desktop and your screen, your icons, will just disappear.
So are you a yay or nay on, you're going to go see Superman though, right?
I'm going to go see it. Well, it's got the Crypto, the dog. That was my big selling.
I heard everybody's most excited about Crypto the dog. It's funny. S. Jones Jack said, my cat is an asshole. That's kind of what this thing is, from what I understand. So, but you are going to go see it, right?
I'm going to go see it. I think I need to give it a chance. I do like what Gunn does. I think he brings maybe too much humor at times to some of this stuff. But
he did Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. He did, I think. I'm pretty sure he did a lot of Justice League. One of them.
Yeah.
It was not the Justice League. It was the bad guys version. Oh God,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Yep.
So he's done Guardians. He's done the Suicide Squad. He did Peacemaker, the show, which is funny.
Which is amazing.
That's the best thing he's done in a while.
It is.
He did Brightburn, which I really liked.
That was good.
He did Batman Part 2. He's doing, and then he's doing Clayface. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh, that's a cool Batman villain.
Is it?
Yeah, if it's the same Clayface, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
He's doing all that, because remember, Batman was created a long time ago. So what should our villain be? What if a guy had a Clayface? Oh, that sounds great.
He did Scooby-Doo. He was one of the producers on Scooby-Doo.
They need to do a new Scooby-Doo. I sent you the AI Scooby-Doo, and I love it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
Did you ever notice Scooby's a giant dog, and he just doesn't realize how big he is?
Yeah.
Why is he so scared when he's
because he's
like a Rottweiler?
Dogs don't understand size. Secondly, they're always so freaking high. It's no wonder they see ghosts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe There's all kinds of shit going on here.
They always see things.
We'll do some serious stuff. Yesterday, that was pretty bullshit. The whole freaking Epstein thing. That's a hard one to walk away from, guys.
You know what? So here's what I actually believe. So everybody can ridicule it. You know how they always say the government's not really run by the people we see. The government's run by people that, whether it's the CIA or very rich people that pull the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah.
To me, this was because they're lying 100%. There is a list.
Of course they are.
But they were about to release it. 2 men walk into an office and sit down and explain to them how the world works.
I said this, and I firmly believe it. We cannot be seen as Uncle Sam, the pimp of young teenage girls to powerful men who have bizarre, nasty taste. And because we think it's for the betterment of us as a nation and the Mossad. So because of that, people ask me, do you think they were incompetent or do you think they're corrupt? I said, they're neither. They were all order takers.
Yep.
They got real people to come into a room, like you said, and said, this shit will never see the light of day.
And you know what? It's not even super malicious. Think of it. The government was handing dirty things. It has implicated a lot of incredibly powerful people, and they just laid it out. The stock market will crash. industries will tumble. You will basically destroy the economy. You will destroy public trust in anybody, because this isn't just a few government people are
Oh
involved.
no,
This is
the power brokers. I mean, the only one that went down for this was fucking was Prince Andrew,
exactly.
and his mom was pissed at him. She's like, "You're a dick."
Exactly. But think of it. If you were given that option, and someone really laid it out to you and said, "Do you understand the repercussions of what will happen to our society and to our economy if you let this information out?" Does that mean you're corrupt if you decide not to?
Yes.
You think you should still just let it out no matter what, and
Well,
let
or are you
all
cool
hell break
with,
loose?
because there is an article in BuzzFeed, I think it was 2021, and it was about all of these CIA people and people that worked within the certain organizations that they knew that they were child molesters. They knew they were doing stuff, but they never prosecuted them, because the only one that got prosecuted, if I remember correctly, is the one who they were done with him. So he was of no more value. But everybody else, they knew they couldn't go in front of the court because they would be outing certain things that those people don't have the actual, you don't have the clearance for this.
And it reminds me, you can find it. It was that there was a documentary about Boys Town when
Yeah.
there was a lot of molestation happening. And in the TV guide, it says we're going to air this documentary at this time. It never aired because apparently someone called NBC or the network and said, "Don't air this," and it was never seen. We act like there aren't people pulling strings in the shadows, whatever you want to call it, behind the scenes, that are doing things hopefully for the better of America, but definitely for the betterment of themselves.
Well,
That have
their
more
whole thought
control.
process is, if we prosper, America and the rest of the world can go on as
Yeah.
planned. If not, I my issue. Well, I've always thought that was it. I mean, the guy was definitely some sort of, you don't allow this stuff. And the guy, was he the ag secretary that in Trump's first? I think it was Trump's first administration. The guy that ended up being like the ag secretary had to resign. He was the one who gave him the sweetheart deal. And when they said, "You guys can't prosecute this guy," oh, why is that? Because he's intelligence, and
Yeah.
that's all you need to know. And so they're like, okay, so they gave him some shitty deal, and that was that. But my big issue is the way they've handled it
Yeah. They
was
handled it
the most
poorly.
piss poor thing. And what Trump did yesterday, are you still talking about this guy? What you did there was what I said, I was talking about today with a couple of the guys, is that whole thing with Dylan Mulvaney and Budweiser was bad, but their marketing director being interviewed saying we have to change the way that we think because everybody who drinks Bud Light, is a knuckle dragger and a mouth breather and a frat boy, did far more damage. And Trump looking at everybody yesterday and saying, "Get over it. We got all these great things going on, et cetera, et cetera." I think, man, I've heard from a ton of MAGA people, big influencers, said, "I put my neck out there. I went hard. And now you act as if shut up and take it is the kind of thing." And that's tough, because if your reputation's being ruined and you think, wait a minute, I thought it was all about justice and the right thing to do.
But wasn't that during a press conference about the little girls that were all killed in
It
the
was
flood?
about I think it was about the deals, memos that were sent off to, it was like a whole bunch of questions were being asked. It wasn't just that, but
I thought what I saw, and I could have saw the wrong thing.
Her.
That it
who
was
was there.
about the little girls that were killed in the flood and what was being done to handle that, and the memory of them. And the press, like always, because the press is a bunch of assholes, decides to not talk about the little girls that died in the flood. And to me, it was a time and place thing. Guess what, guys? I know you want to talk about Epstein nonstop because you think you have some blood in the water against Trump, but when a bunch of little kids die, shut up and let's concentrate on little kids'
But
death.
it's hard to justify. Well, it sucks that you guys died. We really care about you. We need to get you all the help. By the way, we're not really bothered by the thousands of hours of porn and kid porn. I mean, God, that is.
At that point, no. If I'm talking about a tragedy of a bunch of little kids dying, I do not bring in something else that happened. I focus on that for a little bit. Just give
Well,
me
it
some
wasn't
breathing
all
room.
about that though. That wasn't it. He was talking about Africa. He was talking about he was talking about everything. He had all of his cabinet people around. They were talking. It wasn't just about that. He was talking about the deals. We're getting all these deals done. You know, the stuff, the economy.
Well, he always
There
yeah.
was a lot. You know, it's Trump. It's freaking like today. Did you see him today?
He'll talk about anything.
Talking to the president of Liberia.
No.
So they're having a conversation. He's like, "God, your English is great. Like, where'd you learn to speak English so well?" The guy's all, "English is our only language." That's great.
That is the best.
You speak well. I don't know where you learned to speak English. He's like, "That's the only language you have in our country." Well, I'm just letting you know, you guys are doing it right.
Did you say that to the president of Ireland too? I don't know what.
I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy. It is. It's crazy. I just think the way that was handled.
It's handled
And
poorly.
yeah, and Pam Bondi, I thought she of all the people was going to be the best because she had she had the best resume of doing the things, and she's been a joke. She's come out and she's telling, like even in other cases, she's like, "We're going to prosecute you and sentence you to 30 years." And like, we haven't even charged him with anything. You jump in the. She has been an idiot, and she continues to try out for Fox. It's the only thing that she seems to do. But this didn't go over well, and I understand that some people are pissed.
I understand completely, but I think that and I wonder because of like you said the past of Pam Bondi. When she said she had all these files on her desk, did she? She says a
Yeah, I
lot.
think she did.
She
Well,
says a
yeah,
lot.
but you're not going to come out and say that. And if I think she had a lot of files on the desk or
Did she
wherever
even look
they
at 'em?
were.
Did she have
She was
files on her desk and never even look at them?
There's a possibility they came out and said, "You have no reason to ever see these things."
Yeah. Like oh, and then all of a sudden the janitor, which
But when
looks a
she
lot
was
like
with
Hillary Clinton, came
O'Keefe,
in
when
that
she was
day and
talking
took
to
them.
O'Keefe's person, she said she had all the videos and she had
She
all
did.
the stuff. So this was a her thing. She screwed it up. I will tell you, every time I look at Cash and Bongino, I think Bongino, he's got to be thinking, I should have fucking told him no. I should have just continued to do my podcast and radio show. This is not what I made. I made an absolute 2-year run. This is arguably the biggest story.
So
And
well, but that's true. It's the biggest story, and the question is it the biggest impact?
it would have been.
They got 100 and something pedophiles off the streets just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
There, so is the press as usual trying to make the most out of something that is wrong, but is it? In other words, would I really look at that and say, you know what, there was one mistake that was a big mistake, but it was one big mistake was made. But for the next 2 or 3 years, I've done a lot of really good. But of course, I'm just going to say this one
But
mistake
it's
is
not
all
about
it
the
is.
press because the press asked 1 or 2 questions. The press didn't give a shit like the MAGA folks did. MAGA folk
And
kept it
that's
a
also
lot.
my thing. The MAGA folks is like, get. I would have loved the Epstein info to come out and implicate a lot of these powerful people, but when you look at the whole thing, it's not the most important thing. Our importance. It's kind of like when if we drop a couple bombs on Iran, it's the end of the world. No, it's not. It's not the end of the world if we drop some bombs on that dumb little country. Everybody is turning everything they can into the biggest deal on earth because we have no perspective and we have no way to look at things at a larger picture.
Well, no, I think we have a way to look at things. I think it was for me. I never expected anything to come out, and I'm not me, dude. I think most of the shit is they blew this building up and not all this. I think all that stuff is a bunch of crap. But I did think there was some there, and I think that everybody kind of knew this guy was freaking. He was mobbed up, if you will, but with the
CIA.
intelligence agencies,
Yeah.
and that's where he ends up. And I don't think he killed himself. And we don't have any film of anything. Oh, wait a minute. We found 11 hours of, you did a
random
piss poor
door.
job. Yes, like a random door.
It's like with a minute, it's still a minute missing.
Yeah, still a minute missing. What minute was that? I don't know. What minute do you think it was? I think it was the one where somebody went in and killed him.
Do you realize I've done video production, that kind of stuff forever? I could have made sure the minute wasn't missing.
Yeah, I know.
It would have been not that big a deal. I'm like, okay, guys, we'll make sure we'll have it all there.
And it's on that. I think the thing is, the MAGA folk feel betrayed. And they feel like even today, Bongino's out there we're going after Comey. We're going after this. The truth will come out. And people, I'm looking and they're like, shut, dude, we don't believe you anymore.
But you know what it does to me? Again, and I'm kind of like a dog with a bone on this, but I remember I was told that the MAGA people would support Trump. They're just a cult. They just do things because they're just zombies that go along with anything he says. None of that's true. None
Well,
of
some
that's
of it is
true.
true. Some of it, they're already going, no, this is 3D chess. He's going to release it a week before the midterms. You're like, okay, whatever.
Well, you know, there might be a small portion of that, but when I look at it, whether it's the bombing Iran to this, you hear all these loud people, what like Tucker Carlson of all people, which I never would have thought would go against Trump. You know, I'm like, Tucker Carlson? They come out and they're very clearly, no, I'm not going to stand with Trump if he does something I don't agree with. I
Well,
think that
there's a difference between not agreeing with something and something that you made a hallmark of a lot of these influencers that you use. Hell, you invited him to the White House and gave him shit that was public.
Pam Bondi did.
But well, yeah, but he's not like he didn't know, because part of the thing was you get to meet him if you haven't met him.
Yeah.
And
But it
you
was
know, and she's like, I printed it out myself. I said, fucking, I could have printed it out myself.
well, there was nothing in those documents.
No, it's the same thing you could got online.
So the question is, what's redacted? Because they do show there's a lot of black redactions. What's been redacted? And are they doing the same thing a lot of times that where they gild the lily? Like, it's not a client list, it's a list of people that would frequently go there.
Yeah, that's what they're that's kind of, if you read nobody put their name to it when they gave it to, and the other thing is they gave it to Axios, which pissed everybody off.
Which is also weird.
They gave it to Axios. Nobody put a name on it. They didn't timestamp it. They said, "Here, what do you think of this?" And I'm
Don't
like,
you think
okay.
it's odd of all the news outlets to give it to the one that just Orange Man Bad news outlet is the one that this got leaked to?
So yeah,
It's like if it went to Mother's Jones, it'd be like, really?
no, well, you know, Axios is left of center, but they're not Mother Jones. Like Mother Jones, they had a headline. I don't know if it was Mother Jones or one of the left-leaning, freaking the Daily Beast or whatever yesterday, that Ted Cruz once again was on vacation when tragedy struck in Texas. I'm like, he's on vacation, and a freak monsoon that was supposed to pass through quickly stalled out. Is he never supposed to go anywhere? Look, when he went to freaking Cabo in the middle of the freaking ice storm, that was a dick move. Okay, everybody recognized that. This was not the same thing.
But if to me, it always is fishy, because I'd be like, oh, I would give it to Joe Rogan. I'd give it to Pat Betrick David. I'd give it to somebody within the circle.
But the thing is, you're not going to give it to them because they helped you get over the hump, and you're not going to hand them and say, well, there's nothing to see here, because they're going to get even more angry than they already were. And they're
angry. They're angry regardless.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because like Bosebic and a few of these other people, they're like, dude, I staked this is my word. You're going to be fine. But a lot of people now think I'm a joke, and they because I pushed, and you know, people told me around this is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And so that's a hard thing when it's your name on something where you end up having to you know, kind of go, you know, deal with it or else kind of
but
thing.
Isn't it funny? It's like, it's almost like the people are led down a garden path. We know Kennedy, their assassination was a lot more to go on than what we've ever been told.
Why isn't that released yet? We were promised. Where's the RFK stuff? We were promised. Where's the MLK stuff? Which, by the way, the MLK stuff is going to be way worse because the FBI's already admitted, yeah, we committed a lot of felonies on this cat.
Well, exactly. What's not being released is implicating the government itself in wrongdoing.
Yeah, because the government doesn't want to be wrong.
And how does Trump and his administration get around the gatekeepers that aren't voted in every 4 years or even every 6 years? They're there for life. So you have gatekeepers that are there till they decide to retire or die.
Not the gatekeepers that are like, these are the people that you're like, who's this guy? It's like, you don't need to know who that guy is.
You don't need to know.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of there was old footage of Reagan era footage of a guy that whispers to Raven to cut it.
Yeah.
What his talks. You're like, who's this random dude?
Yeah.
Telling the president to cut it. There's little things, you know, it's not conspiracy theory. I mean, Eisenhower leaves office telling people to be aware of the military-industrial complex and the shadow. You know, Kennedy's last speech before he was assassinated is about the shadow government and the people who work. We act like this isn't real, even though presidents have publicly stated it.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think we all know there are a lot of people that pull a lot of strings, donors, things of that nature. And I keep telling everybody, if you're thinking it is strictly just leaders of countries, you're wrong. These are
Yeah.
power brokers. These
Yep.
are the kind of people that when they go to the Bilderbergers, they go to the Builder on top of the Bilderbergers, where there's
Yep.
8 of them in a room kind of thing. And yeah, okay, so, but that being said, I think you could have handled it 1,000 times better, and you pissed
They
a lot of
handled it
people off.
so poorly.
Yeah, that was you shit
They
in everybody's
handled it
Cheerios.
so poorly. And I personally don't think it's done. I think that what was exposed is everybody now knows there is people pulling strings behind. I think we're going to see in the next couple years that they're going to start getting more exposed.
I don't think
You think they're
will.
going to always be behind the scenes?
Of course, there's gonna be. Well, yeah, and it's like anything. It's like the mob. You're cool until you're no longer useful. If you're no longer useful, then we'll let you go. But until then, we're going to essentially keep you around and keep doing what we're doing, because the agency, the organization, the thing is more important than the sum of the parts, and so you have to protect whatever that is.
It's kind of like, I think eventually you're going to have like this alien thing where, people come in front of Congress and people just yawn. They don't care anymore. But all these people are saying, hey, aliens exist. They've been part of, the government's covered it up for years. These whistleblowers come out because they have nothing left to lose. I don't know why, or it could be all part of a plan. But I think you're going to see that starting to come out. Hey, there's an organization that runs things.
Yeah.
Or loose organ. It doesn't have to be like formal, just a loose organization of people that run things. And I think names are going to start being named. These are the people that are covering things up. And I know that Grok will think it's the Jews.
That's always.
But I think it's more than just the Jews.
According to Kanye, Kanye.
Kanye's going to tell us just the Jews. I'm like, wow, those Jews are really industrious. They just get around. They're everywhere.
So insane. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this thing became anti-Semitic in 10 minutes.
Also, no, it's like even this, they're blaming Jews for the cover up. They're like, it's Mossad. Like,
well, there's probably a part of
it. Probably is Mossad. Yeah,
I mean, think about what Israel did to us. Israel spied on us. Had a guy, I forgot the guy's name, who they arrested, who was selling secrets to Israel. Israel was taking it, giving it to the Soviets, and then the Soviets were telling all these Russian Jews, you guys can go to Israel. And then they would come over here, and then they would try to get the guy pardoned. You're like, oh, my God, dude. I mean, this is not working out. I mean, come on. I think it was trained by Mel Gibson's emails. This was true.
Oh, this probably is. But notice how they take all these, which manipulative things happen in governments all the time, behind the scenes. What you're saying is true, but they turn that into like the Jews as a whole, are some evil organization. That's what I don't get. Drawing that yes, some bad things were being done, but that leads to like, what is the last thing I said? The Bibi Netanyahu is actually got a mask on. That's not really him.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah.
Where's that at?
It was popping up in social. Yeah. And then it's some kind of like, the truth is going to come out. He's controlled asset of, okay, dude.
Who's controlling him? I thought the Jews were controlling everything. Is there another Jew that's controlling that Jew?
There's really a hierarchy of Jews.
Bigger the hat. You know how it is.
Exactly. It goes from the curls to the hat.
It's so bizarre. Like this whole,
and it's like those Russian nesting dolls.
Oh. Oh my God! It's actually, and we're gonna have to call in Scooby-Doo to come in and Shaggy.
But to me, I think when people focus on that and they get this weird, obsession with Jews, you miss the larger picture. There are controls, and it doesn't mean that Jews can't be part of that control structure, but is a control structure that is running things. And if we just try and scapegoat a single group, we're probably missing the larger picture of what's really happening.
Well, I don't think we're a scapegoat. I think this group
I think some Jews are a part of it.
This group, I don't think, has that much to do with religion and a lot to do with power.
Yeah. I
That's
think,
the
yeah.
big thing. And I told, look, what's scarier is it scarier to think that Trump, that there is this thing out there that is this unseen, but kind of like, like the mafia. What was it? It's our thing, right? But
Yep.
it doesn't exist. I mean, like that right there is a perfect example of we don't exist, but if we did, it's our thing.
Yeah.
What's scarier is the fact that they have that kind of power that they can even look at Trump and go, no.
Well, you go back through the ages, and what was it, the incredibly rich family that said there'd be no wars if the wife once said there'd be no wars if my sons didn't want it and could profit
Yeah.
from it. And you look back in the past, like giant corporations funded both sides.
Of course. They don't
Back to
care.
Napoleon, they'd fund Napoleon, they'd fund British, they'd fund France, they'd fund. There's money to be made in staying in the shadows, a
Of
ridiculous
course.
amount. And for some reason, people are obsessed with money. I mean, like, there's a point when you get enough money, like,
Well,
why
and
do you
it's
need more
power
money?
too. It's power. Being able to call the president on the phone and get him to do something is kind of like, or the president of, or the head of another country, and essentially have the kind of power to move markets or move situations. That's got to be addictive.
It's
I
gotta
don't
be
have
crazy.
that kind of power. I can't even get my 7-year-old to listen to me.
Exactly. I can't get my dog to listen to me. But I don't understand that obsession. It becomes an obsession. And I think those people that do it, I think we could probably find them because they can't be mentally stable. If you're
Well,
so obsessed with power,
you have to have that kind of power, the narcissism and to think about it, if you had that kind of power, you would feel like Superman. Right? Like,
I mean, I like Elon Musk, but you can even see how he goes a little crazy because who was it the last he just said was also on the list that didn't
Bannon.
exist? Bannon. It's like I wonder if his CEO just left, which is a woman, and she's probably going to say she's on the list. It seems like
Probably.
everybody Elon Musk doesn't like, he goes a little crazy over. And I get he doesn't like Bannon, I get it, whatever, but he's like, oh, Bannon's on the list. It's like, dude,
I don't know.
you realize at some point
how
that's
we know?
slander?
We don't know. That's how we know, because nobody's telling us who's on the list.
Nobody's telling us except
Because
for
it doesn't
Elon Musk.
exist. It existed months ago, but it doesn't exist now.
No. Nope.
None of it
And
exists.
we know Bill Clinton was never on that list. We definitely know that the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was the
She
guest
hasn't
of
done
honor
anything
at his
wrong.
daughter's
Why is she in
wedding.
jail?
What?
If nobody trafficked or did anything, and there's no list of anybody, why is she in jail?
If I was her lawyer, I would 100% say she needs to get out immediately.
Yeah.
Because true, if this doesn't exist and it was just him kind of doing something on his own, why is she in jail? What did she do?
Well, she procured young women for him to traffic. To who?
To who? To nobody? According to the FBI, there was no
right?
trafficking.
Like, I look at the Diddy thing and I'm like, so you got conspiracy. Who was he conspiring with? Because there's nobody. You usually have to have two to conspire. They're coming later. It's our secret. Well, not in that trial. It wasn't.
Well, don't you think also? I think the Diddy thing was a little convenient too.
No, I think they bit off way more than they could chew on that one, and they had I think they thought they were going to have a lot more witnesses, and they were going to be. Basically, he wouldn't even have been charged with anything had it not been because you're not going to charge him with bringing prostitutes across state line. Nobody does unless they've gone after the RICO.
His house was a giant surveillance thing. There was cameras everywhere. We're told this. We're told that he took a trip with something in a private plane to a place that you can't extradite. And now I just believe that no, he just kind of traveled some prostitutes around. That also doesn't sit with me. I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me all this stuff, and now you're just telling me, because why would I care? The fact that rich guys had prostitutes coming to them, it's like, whatever, I don't, that's not a surprise to me.
I was wondering, okay, where are all the stars that were caught up in this? Why is it you have 3 or 4 of the prostitutes, a couple ex-girlfriends, and there doesn't seem to be anybody else that is testifying, and you talk to most lawyers, they all say the same thing. They bit off way more than they could chew when they went for the RICO and tried to make it a racketeering, like he was a mobster. That wasn't going to work because you didn't go after him for dealing. Once they threw out the arson and the guns and the drugs, they were done.
But if he was doing some form of blackmail, and he was connected somehow with an intelligence agency, it again seems to be
It was the
an
Grammys.
Epstein-like cover-up.
It was the Grammys.
It was the Grammys
It was
and
the
the
Grammys.
Jews.
It was the Grammys. He wanted to make sure that Taylor Swift could never win an award again.
Yes. He wanted to make sure that Kanye West always stayed crazy.
Oh, do you see when Kanye went out there too? It's like, jeez. He's like, when I'm done here, I'm gonna go work on Gronk.
Oh, that's funny.
He's a nut.
He is,
my
do you
God,
see
that
he's
guy's
been
unstable.
signing stuff with swastikas?
Oh, Jesus. That guy's unstable.
Well, I wish someone just tell him, let me explain to you about Nazis. As a black man, I would want to tell you a few things.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure they would have been your friend.
Yeah, I don't think you realized that this wouldn't have gone well for you. Like this was not. They weren't good people. Is what we're trying to tell you.
They weren't as caring. Their DEI program wasn't as involved as ours is.
Yeah, there weren't like the DEI they had was okay. We're gonna let you do it, but you do have brown hair.
It was
We're not
more
looking for brown
DIE.
hair.
They had the DIE program.
That guy. I mean, imagine being his kids.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Well,
at
look
the
at-
age where it's like, your dad is a fucking wackadoo. There's not a lot you can do about it. He's famous, but he's nutty. Your stepmom is always showing everybody her areolas.
Yeah.
And she is just, I don't even know what the hell that's about. And who would have thought that, like, Kim is like, she's the most grounded of the bunch.
Which is
Right?
sad.
No,
you have
she's a great
literally
mom.
Kim
I always love
Kardashian.
everything I've seen. She's like a great mom, and the aunts are great and everything. But your dad, because that's still the father of your children, is running around, freaking talking about Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And just what?
Have you noticed there seems to be a resurgence in admiration of Hitler?
There's a
Which is
huge,
very weird.
a huge resurgence of, well, maybe it wasn't all wrong. Are you freaking kidding me?
Well, he invented the freeway, so okay, yeah, I'll give you that. I like freeways, so
So, the call, like when you talk, everybody deserves a car, right? We should all have a car so he and was it Porsche and they did the people's vehicle, which was the bug and no, it's not worth it. Trust me. We'd be fine
Exactly.
without freeways if you didn't kill a whole bunch of people. Okay.
and it's really, and I don't understand how all of a sudden it's becoming more and more mainstream. This hatred or this admiration of Hitler, where forever, not ever, since the end of World War II, we didn't like Hitler. We didn't like Nazis. All of a sudden, there's the weirdest place, Candace Owens, the weirdest places you'll hear.
And it has to do again with the Jews because they look and they say, you guys are controlling too much. You have too much power. All of the things that they're pointing out and saying this, and this, and you've got everybody you got Trump to bomb Iran because you're over here on how many occasions? My God, they're here all the time. Why? You don't need to be here. There's no reason for you guys to come over all the time, the way that you are. And people are, they're it goes right to, well, maybe he was right. That's the kind of attitude people are having. And it's not the Nazis. The funny thing is, it's not the Nazis. It's a change in the attitude towards Hitler himself.
Hitler himself, exactly. Not in the Nazis, but in Hitler himself. Like, well, maybe he had some good ideas, which is bizarre. And to me, again, it's not seen. People see Jews behind under their beds and in their closets hiding. When I look in the tech industry, when I read these papers, Asian names and Indian names.
Yeah.
When I look who's behind the tech companies, Asian guys, why doesn't anybody act like Indians and Asians are ruling the world? Because honestly, they are the majority of the population of this planet. 60% of the planet's like Asian or something like that?
Yeah.
And when I look at tech things and I look behind the scenes, not the behind the scenes, it's an Indian or an Asian guy, almost I'd say 90% of the time. Nobody ever talks about that. They always go the Jews. Like 20 million people on the entire planet are supposedly controlling everything.
people probably look at that and say, though, look at all the stuff we get. We get this, we get that. They seem to be harmless. They don't seem to control anything. They don't seem to do anything. They don't say, there's not that, you're not, it's this sense that is always been out there that I can't trust you guys. I mean, like, it's really bad, but I don't know if we can try. You guys control banking and the media and all this kind of like, they're puppet masters, which is not true.
Which is not true because banking, like maybe in the olden days, people could control banking more. Banking now is algorithms and computers are running most of it because it's, we don't really have gold that backs most of our fiat. And just everybody controlling that. I don't see any Jewish names behind that control. I see Asian, Chinese. I see, Indian, Pakistani. They're the ones writing the algorithms, creating the infrastructure. There's a technological infrastructure that keeps everything running. It just seems like people don't understand and don't dig deep enough into how the world works, which makes it easy to say Hitler had some good ideas because you don't really know how things work because you don't dig deep enough.
And you're not paying attention, right? Everything is surface level.
Everything's surface level because of
and they're low hanging fruit to go after the Jews. It's always them. Like they're the boogeymen for everything.
It's 100%. I mean, I was watching this guy on YouTube, and it's he's a little racist, which is kind of funny, and I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or unfunny, but he did a whole thing wearing this shirt about basically saying the people behind it have big noses and little hats, and he's on the street, man on the street, and you're like, dude, that's I don't know if you're making a joke or if you're being racist right now, but it's kind of racist, but maybe you're just trying to make a joke about,
or you're trying to get a shock value kind of thing.
Shock value, yeah. I mean. But again, it goes to like, I would have never seen that, and it wouldn't have been allowed, even a few years ago.
People would have been terrified.
People have been terrified to be like, okay, maybe you are making a joke, and I am a free speech absolutist. Even if it's a bad joke, make your dumb joke.
Yeah,
I don't care. But just not too long ago, it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been kosher. People wouldn't have been allowed to go out and do it.
Wouldn't have been kosher,
now,
huh?
It's just getting more and more where you just see it all the time.
It's scary.
And it's becoming weird to me. Just like weird. Yeah. It's like, why is all of a sudden, am I in 1935, Germany?
It's, it's the hyperbole of the left is like, it feels like the 20s and early 30s. They blame that on Trump, and that's not true. And I'm not saying there aren't people on the right that also don't have that opinion. I mean, Nick Fuentes and a lot of people like that, they have that kind of opinion. I'm not saying that's not other, but it's also on the left. And it has very little to do with Trump. Nobody is more pro-Israel than Donald Trump. I mean, the guy, look what he did with the embassy, nobody is more pro-Israel than Donald Trump. But do I understand, though, when some people say, well, it feels a little bit like that? Yeah, because there is that sense. And it's not, and the funny thing is, it's not about the Jews in the country here. It's about Israel itself. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, and I think at some point in time, you got to say, all right, Bibi, you've played this thing out. When I was talking to our guy Mike Lyons, who's our big military analyst, he said, from what he understands is, once this is done with Hamas, and Bibi wants assurances he's not going to be prosecuted, that they're not going to investigate, because I think he did some stuff. And he's a wartime guy, and it'll be done, and then he can go away. Hamas, 100 to 180,000 people dead. That's a lot of people. On top of that, you are, what they say, if they left everything like it was right now, it would take them about 40 years to get rid of the rubble and just start to rebuild it in any way, shape. Okay, you're now just blowing up bigger rocks into little rocks, and you're creating more people who are going to hate you, not so much the Jewish people, but there's got to have to be a different move. And I hope there is. But you're also negotiating with people for their demise. And what do you tell them? Okay, we won't kill you. You got to leave. And then, but you've got to get other people on board too. At some point in time, I think people are starting to realize, hey guys, we get it. You don't like each other. Okay. But this has to end.
I'm not trying to justify all that slaughter, but this is the big but. It's Hiroshima. It's overwhelming thing. If you're going to continue to attack us, we're going to be very clear that we won't just attack you, we will destroy you. So stop attacking us.
Well, I
I don't
think
know if that's Netanyahu's ultimate goal in that sense. It's not that I just needed to get rid of Hamas. It's like just for the world to know, especially the world over there, to just, death to Israel. We want, river to the sea people. If you attack us, we will destroy you.
yeah, but at some point, when do you step back and go, okay, you guys have had a hard hand for a lot of years. And yes, we tried to get deals done in the past, and the idiots that are there, whether, and you can go back several idiots and see what is, the PLO and all this kind of stuff. But at some point in time, too, I mean, as a human being, I can't look and I see, these kids are starving and they're dead. And you're just like, okay, you've killed father, grandfather, two brothers, and all that's left are two little boys. Do you think they're going to grow up and think we should totally be friends? No, I know if you would have killed my family, I'm fucking John Wick in it if I have a chance.
Yeah, but
And
they were never being brought up to think we should be friends. They were always being brought up to
well,
think that Israel's
some
the
of it
enemy.
was, but like you and I have talked about, we've seen a lot of the stuff over there that, was it as bad as everybody on the left wants to make it out to be? Like it was always war torn? No, there was a lot of stuff that was going on that they were okay with and that were fine. And they didn't seem to hate, but there's certain areas that absolutely they do. But now, okay, now what? Because you got to get out of this thing. Because the one thing that Bibi, as much as he's counting on Trump, you go look at the polls, man. Americans are like, you know what? No, okay, we're kind of done with this. All right, like you guys need to figure this
No
out.
one wants us in any war. I'm behind that. America does not get into a war, but we again, I think we gave so much and supported Ukraine, which I could give a flying flip about Ukraine. It was part of Russia before. If Russia ever wanted to make it Ukraine Russia again, they're not an ally. They're nothing. I could care less about Ukraine. But Israel is a real ally and has been. Why wouldn't we support them too?
Well, Israel's an ally, but friends don't drag friends into all kinds of shit. Don't be that guy that nobody wants to go out with all the time because we know you're going to fucking start a fight at the bar.
I had a friend, that's a good example. I had a friend, he was a Golden Globes. He was a boxer. Yeah. And I had another friend who was very short and would pick fights every time they'd go to a bar or club because he knew our buddy could step in and make sure that they walked out of the bar.
And you don't want to be that guy.
And my buddy that was the boxer, he never would start a fight, ever.
Yeah.
And he knew how to fight. He was like, no, I don't need to. I'm going to walk away. But the other little buddy, he would be like, oh, got to pull him out of it.
Everybody's like, they're friends. I know, but you know what? Don't be a dick friend.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you don't have to start a fight. And you also have to figure out how you're going to get out of the fight.
At this point, I don't know how they get out of it other than just say, let's finish off Hamas. I don't know how they do it, by the way, because it is just rubble. I don't know how they finish them off.
Well, not only that, how do you finish off something that is an ideology? That's a hard thing.
No more Nazis? So, in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know. It sounds like they're growing.
Yeah, they're growing again, yeah. But they're no more.
The Nazis, we returned Germany. First of all, we gave half of it to the Soviets, essentially. So hey, lucky you guys. But the other half, we said, all right, we're going to fucking rebuild you guys so you never get in this situation again. And we're not going to do what we did last time where we basically told you, you're going to fucking pay everybody back and you guys are screwed. So the Nazis, they were fine to lay down their weapons and go. They knew they were beat. They were going to lay down their weapons and go home. They knew it was over, and they knew once they laid down their weapons, nobody was going to go and kill them. And you didn't have little groups of Nazis, for the most part, outside the ones in Argentina, who were hoping for the Fourth Reich. You know what I mean? And so they were fine. It was done. Where here, and
Trump is correct, and everybody just laughs at Trump because of how Trump talks, and I'm tired of people laughing at Trump when he seems to be very successful in our economy and the wars and everything. But he said, he wants a golf course there, and the point was, we rebuild it. If Gaza has our standard of living, Palestine has our standard of living, the chances of them continuing this cycle diminishes greatly.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. And if you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath mortgage, and you got a family to take care of, and you've got stuff to do tomorrow that your boss needs to have done, and you're working on a big promotion, you're less likely to blow your shit up on a bus.
How many terrorists come out of Dubai?
How many what?
Terrorists come out of Dubai. It's a very rich thing.
Yeah.
None of those guys in those big mansions are coming out to blow themselves up.
So, yeah, somebody said, this is what we need to do. They asked, what do we need to do? What we need to do is you have to get everybody in the Middle East and parts of Africa who are heads of state and business leaders to come in and say, all right, here's the deal. We're going to allow you guys who are part of Hamas a chance to bounce. We're not going to kill you. We're not going to freaking September, what was it, freaking Black October, whatever they were called. We're not going to come chase you guys down. You guys go, and you got, 48 hours to get out of here and take all the money you've stolen and bounce, and we're not going to touch you. And then several leaders throughout the Middle East will take a rotating turn while they rebuild everything over the space of several years and give them that opportunity. And it's not going to be easy. And at the same time, too, you're going to still have animosity because, even if you're 4 and you don't really know what's going on, if you're living in frickin', every night you're having to move and everybody in your family's been killed, it take a while to get, back on track. But that's what you have to do. It has to be, we're all buying in, because otherwise it ain't going to get done.
And maybe it's excessive, but I do believe Israel sent a message. You mess with us, you have no chance.
You mess with us, and America will make sure we have all of the weapons we absolutely need.
Everything.
Everything.
And they have all our weapons already. They have our planes, our tanks, and everything. And I think the whole world got a message. America outclasses your militaries when even a tiny country like Israel can take on Syria, Iran, Hamas, and everybody all at once with our junk.
With our junk. It's always about
our junk. And I think that's a very clear message. It's like, just don't mess with us. Why? Israel did not start that war. I mean, everybody says they didn't.
I mean, the people who, one man's freedom fighters, another man terrorists. Okay, look, Israel has, there were times even before that you got 5 hours a day of electricity. Israel would allow you, and 2 hours a day of water. That was in certain areas in throughout Gaza. Not talking about the West Bank and stuff, which is a little bit more built up. And if we talk about that, they're very much untouched comparatively. But you also go and look and say, freaking Egypt's got a giant wall. They don't want you here because they're terrified you're going to turn on them. Jordan doesn't want you.
Yep.
It's not that Jordan doesn't want you as a people. Jordan doesn't want your mess that comes with it. That's their fear is, you know what? Yeah, we might allow 1,000 in here, but if 100 of you want to blow shit up and overthrow the king, as you tried to do before, we're not going to have that. We're not.
People look at that. And to me, October 7th, they didn't just go in and shoot some people even. They went in and they barbarically, savagely killed people that were just random people at concerts and just living their lives.
At a peace concert too. That was the funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you could say funny, but I mean the reality is they're at a peace concert, murdering people who are dancing for
savagely murdering them. Murdering them. There's no excuse. There is no I'm a freedom fighter. No, a freedom fighter doesn't do that. The Irish were freedom fighters. They would hey, we're about to blow up that JCPenney's. Everybody get out.
Well. They did after they realized, oh my God, we killed a whole bunch of nuns. Oh, that can't be good.
Yeah.
Everybody.
At the point, they just
even the other Irish are pissed at us. Oh yeah, they're really pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do this. And they came to their senses, and yet they're still free Ireland. We're occupied. The same rhetoric you hear. And why do we look at them and see them completely different than the Irish? We don't think the Irish that have the same rhetoric. We're an occupied state. We're being oppressed. All this unjustness that UK
the
does to
difference
us.
is, I mean, when you go look, because when I was over there a couple times, the first few times I went to when I lived there, I was there several years before the head of the IRA, I think it was Jerry O'Donnell, whatever his name was you weren't allowed to hear his voice on English television. They would have he spoke English, but they had a translator translate it as if he was going to talk you into doing something.
Yeah.
But I was there a couple times when I was younger, like 12, 13, where they would rope off an area on one of the high streets because they called in a bomb and told everybody to get out. And then they would blow something up and, the bomb squad would detonate it. And they were trying to send a message, but the Brits were on the streets, man. When you went to Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
they're walking around, occupying it. They got guns, and it is kind of a surreal, weird thing. And then you had that weird dynamic too, because you had the Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. They weren't, and then the other Ireland's like, we're not quite sure if we really want you to hang out. It was a weird. But this whole thing, I mean, we got to get out of this. We got to get them out of this. And I think part of it is also BB's got to have some sort of assurances that he's not going down for anything. He's not going to do it in jail because they're not happy with him. His approval numbers are. They're not happy with him at all.
Even before this, I don't think they liked him.
Oh no, because he's trying to change the Constitution. He was trying to do a lot of things. I mean, the uprisings in the streets were big, and the other thing is too, this was on his watch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions about. Okay, so wait a minute here. If you've ever been there, like every 3 steps, there's somebody on this fence with a gun. And you mean to tell me on this day, there's nobody here?
It was a holiday. It was a big holiday for them.
But they never stop for a big holiday. They don't care.
It's really weird.
They don't say, hey, guys, it's one of our high holidays. Don't do anything that day. They're there to protect themselves.
This goes back to the conversation about people behind the scenes pulling strings.
Yeah.
Could have there been something more to it? They said, I mean, you go back to this, and it is true. Apparently, there was prior notification for Pearl Harbor. There was people going, hey,
well,
it looks like there could be an attack.
I think there was chatter everywhere because there was chatter that, Jordan and a few other people said, hey, they're planning something over there. And you guys better be wary. But do you believe it? Because it's like anything. You may get 500 of those a year. Only one of them has to go wrong. And a vast majority of them are hearsay or wannabe or never going to happen.
But could people in the right position with the right motivations make sure that blind eyes are
absolutely, of course.
And again, it goes to me in this weird conspiratorial sector, but at some point you have to have these questions because there's too many odd things that go down in the world that do feel like there's a manipulation happening. Even just subtle manipulations. Yeah. Like things aren't planned, but they're allowed. We'll just allow that one.
But they're allowed. They're not planned, but they're allowed.
Yep.
And I think that's a good way to put it. It's not like the people that are pulling the strings aren't pushing them to do this.
No.
They just know it's coming and they're saying, you know what? Well, it'll happen.
Here's the reasons why it might be beneficial if this does happen.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's nuts. I don't know. The whole thing's crazy. It is.
It's a crazy situation.
So let's. So you are gonna go. When are you gonna go see Superman? Because we want to get your.
Saturday probably. Right?
Is it?
I think it's out. Yeah, probably Saturday.
I just
go see it. Probably buy a Superman popcorn bucket.
Oh, they have one of those.
They had one. I saw one of those Superman bucket. They had a really cool Jaws popcorn bucket. Jaws is my favorite movie.
Well, the 50th anniversary. When's it come out? Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and so they got all this stuff, little Jaws junk, and I'm like, okay, probably gonna end up buying Jaws stuff.
Did you see the alien one? They had the face sucker one.
No.
Yeah, it was
a popcorn
awesome.
thing. So it was like the popcorn's inside. You put on your face.
Yeah, so it was pretty good, and you gorge yourself. I'm so disgusting, so disgusting.
They should totally have that.
So it's So I'm curious. I haven't seen a movie in forever. I don't go to the movies. I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm never going to the movies. I got kids. And the movies.
You know what I want to try is that new 4D seats.
Oh, they shake and stuff.
They shake and move around. Now I don't know if that would be irritating. Like if you're just trying to have some popcorn and a drink.
It's gonna be. Well, they had. Remember, was it like smell-o-vision back in the 50s?
Yep.
Smell-o-vision.
But if it's just a little subtle movement, that could be cool. But if it's like Star Tours, where you're literally going up and down, I'd be like, okay, 2 hours of that's not really what I want.
No, that's kind of probably make you sick to your stomach. I don't know.
It might just be weird. Just like, okay, guys, it's a little overkill.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up tonight. I'm going to go relax and chill and get ready for tomorrow. Like and subscribe if you're watching us anywhere. Check out all of our channels. We had to do it over here tonight because on the Riverside side of stuff to get us out because for whatever the restream's been crazy. But we'll be back. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll have a lot of fun and we'll have more crap to talk about that's not this. And but I thought we needed to have a chat with you because you're a big MAGA guy and it's not because of your size. I just mean you really like MAGA.
No. I understand that was a sizeism.
Sizeism. Fantastic sizeism. We'll have some wacky stuff tomorrow. You guys have a good night. Like and subscribe tomorrow. Check me on the radio 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon on the East Coast. Night, night.